Welcome to Geopointers, a video series highlighting key Geopoint functionality. Hello and welcome to another Geopointers video, and today I'm going to be taking you through Geopoint from the perspective of a field sales individual, and specifically one that's selling medical devices into either doctor's offices or other hospital facilities. So for those that are familiar with Geopoint, they will notice the Geopoint map and the control panel here. Also, the same functionality exists where we can load shapes within the tool. Here I have a territory within Chicago based upon zip codes. I can also use our shape search to load data, so I can run a shape search of my accounts by type and understand which accounts I've been assigned and am responsible for. Coming to the layer manager, I can even see, based upon how we've set up this data set, how those accounts have been segmented. So we're using the type field in this instance, and we've got them segmented into doctor's offices, urgent cares and hospital facilities. So in my case, most of my business comes from hospitals, so I might want to focus down on that subset just by selecting the other layers off on the legend. And we can utilize the tool to gain insight around that data. So we can use things like heat mapping just out of the box to understand record concentration and get a clear idea about where those accounts reside. We can also use the data within Salesforce to actually weight that heat map. So if I wanted to see that data from a different metric, so per se annual revenue, we get a different picture. And if I were to focus in on contract value, we can get an understanding who my best customers are and who I particularly want to focus in on. So showing the markers again, demonstrates to us that Northwest Memorial Hospital is our most valued customer and probably someone we want to target if we're going to be planning a trip to this location. So just to switch gears slightly, I've actually gone through a process of planning some days out. I'm going to be in Chicago next week, and if you look at my calendar here, I'll be visiting the area, and I have a number of meetings planned across that week. Obviously, I'm flying in, I'm picking up my rental car, I'm staying at a hotel during that period and flying out at the end of the week. A number of meetings as well as this big meeting, but what I'm clear on is there's a portion of my day on Thursday that I want to find better use for and understand who might be close to that location. So with our new calendar scheduling feature, which is available through this icon here, we can actually load our calendar within Salesforce. So by selecting that icon, we actually get a day view out of the box, but we can also switch to a week view quite easily. And if we go to next week, we can visualize that same calendar and see all the same meetings in place through Geopoint. You'll also notice that each day is specifically color-coded, and that actually relates to a route on each one of those days, and you can see them visually on the map. On Thursday, our purple route, if we focus in on that, we can see that we're starting to go south, but we want to find a couple more stops that might be suitable during that day. So we have a number of hospitals around this region. Again, we can use our heat mapping tool to gain an insight into which ones might be most suitable. Geopoint works as it always has, so we can gain a bit more understanding around that data fairly simply. But if I wanted to use heat mapping and gain an understanding of concentration, or use something like annual revenue to understand who our biggest prospects are, we're getting a clear indication there that we have two records in Trinity Hospital and Roseland Community Hospital as people we might want to go and see. Now, the way in which we add those to the calendar is we're using our actions framework. So I can select upon any one of these records. We have a handy add to calendar action now, which you can select, and it gets populated in this staging area. So I'll do that once more. I can select on Roseland, I add to calendar, and then we're in the staging area. Now, fairly simple to get this into the calendar. It's a drag and drop action. So I select on Trinity Hospital and I pull it onto the calendar to the specific time that I want to arrange my meeting. So in this instance, I might want to call this a prospecting meeting. And I get to select the type of event to create before adding it to the calendar. I'll do that again with Roseland. So I select Roseland Community Hospital, I pull it onto the calendar, I let go, and then I can rename my subject and then select the calendar object to be created. Once that process is done, we actually have to save them to create those events. So I select save in the top right corner of that calendar, and that actually, you'll notice that these calendar items change somewhat, and those events are actually created. Just to check that that has happened, I can come to the Salesforce calendar, and then you'll notice there they're now populated as calendar events within the calendar. So now that our day's actually planned, I can switch gears somewhat, and we can come to Salesforce Mobile. So here I am in Salesforce Mobile in the same org, and then we can access Geopoint in exactly the same way as we've always done by selecting the Map app within the application. Once loaded, Geopoint works again the same way. You have access to all the same data sets, all as you'd expect, but the new icon will be this calendar icon in the bottom right corner. We select that. We now have a visual of the calendar, and if we actually move to the day in question, so I believe the first one of those days was first day in the field was on the 23rd, and here we're having that, starting our day at the hotel, but we also have that first face-to-face meeting at St. Joseph Health Centres and Hospitals. So I can select upon that calendar icon. We have the option to delete or cancel the event if we wanted to. Similarly, we can show the route on the map as well by selecting Show Route on Map. And this time when I select, we have the option for View Record on Map. So I can select that, and we actually see the route that we'll be taking on that day. And also we have that handy Navigate button in the bottom right corner. So when I select that, I have the option to select either one of my configured options. So we support Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze from a turn-by-turn direction app perspective, and also Lyft and Uber from a Lyft sharing service. So either one of those can be selected, and then you can jump to that application to get you from point to point. For those familiar with the actions within Geopoint, check-ins is also supported within Calendar, as well as all the other actions. So if I wanted to check in my activity, I can select check-in. I can talk my notes in. Had a great meeting. I can select a disposition. I should point out that all this is customizable within the tool, so it can be customized to your specific nuance and check-in process. But once we select check-in button and the check-in is successful, the activity is logged, and all back in Salesforce fairly seamlessly. So that concludes our demo for today. I hope that's been useful. We'd love to see you back here at the channel for more tips and tricks with Geopoint. Thanks for stopping by. We hope this video has been useful. If so, please make sure to like and subscribe to our channel, where you will find more helpful tips and tricks.